So just to let you all know, as I said, we're recording this just so that we can publish this at a later date for anybody that wasn't able to make it, and they can also get the value from the webinar. As Lee mentioned, my name's Kirsty Angerer. I am the Travelling Ergonomist. I have been working in the field of ergonomics now for, it's actually over 10 years now, so I'm pushing on to nearly 12 years. I studied ergonomics and human factors at Loughborough University, moved down to London for a few years and helped corporates in the UK and Ireland. I also supported clients in the Middle East and mainland Europe as well, before moving out to Australia for a couple of years, and Australia, New Zealand and South Africa becoming my new territory. So I guess I've seen it all in terms of different cultures, different countries and different organizations of how they do things and what works best for people. This webinar is going to be very much around how individuals get set up properly in their home working office, or wherever you're finding that office space in your home. That could be the bedroom, kitchen, dining room, or some of my clients have unfortunately had to be sat on the floor at the moment because that's the only space they can find, particularly if they've got kids. So we're going to go through that. Just to give you a bit more of a background behind me, I am a certified professional ergonomist. I'm also a Fitwel Ambassador. And if you don't know what Fitwel is a certification scheme that was set up a few years ago in America, based on scientific research, really in terms of public health. So making sure that public health was really at the forefront of building design. And so Fitwel, if you're interested, you can go online and they give you loads of tips and strategies of how to encourage better health, better productivity within the building itself of occupants. So it's a really fantastic certification system. The other one would be Well Building, and I am a movement advisor on the board of the Well Building for 2020. And what that means is I can offer my experience over the last 10 to 12 years for the Well certification, so that we can promote ergonomics much higher than it already is at the moment. And so that when occupants or when construction companies are building these buildings and refurbishing our offices, building our workplaces, we can do it such that it's not affecting people's health, and actually it's improving people's health and allowing people to thrive in the workplace. I am a frequent flyer. Well, up until now, I was a frequent flyer, flying most weeks, if not a couple of times a month. So this has been the longest time that I haven't been up in the air traveling somewhere. So it's been quite nice for me, actually, just to be on solid ground for a few weeks and to speak to everybody like this on webinars, conducting remote assessments. So as you can see here, I don't always spend my time sat in the middle of a road in London working on my laptop. This was a video that I created for YouTube and for my website, just as a bit of irony when it comes to ergonomics. So I definitely don't recommend that you work like this at your home or in your workplaces, but it's just there for a bit of irony and a bit of fun, really, because if you don't have fun, then what's the point? So hopefully this webinar will be light-hearted, fun, and really, really informative so that you get the best value for you working at home at the moment. So what is ergonomics all about? Ergonomics, in my mind, is a story of interactions. It's how we interact as people with each other. It's how we interact with products and the general environment around us. We've all been in a space where there has been a lot of poor design, and I'm sure many of you, even if you have a brand new office that you've been working in prior to this situation, there would have been some things in there that you weren't quite happy with. Perhaps you went to open a door and actually you were meant to push the door, or you couldn't find your colleague because it's an open plan space now and colleagues can sit anywhere. That's quite frustrating and could waste some of our time. Perhaps you're trying to find a specific meeting room and the signposting for that meeting room isn't great. How do we navigate that? And that's what ergonomics hopes to actually reduce in terms of errors and discomfort and frustration for you. The whole point of ergonomics is to design issues out so that we are improving people's productivity and optimizing people's health. That's the whole point of ergonomics. And I hope that you'll get the value out of this webinar and align yourselves with that as well. The term ergonomics comes from two Greek words, ergon and nomos. So ergon means to work and nomos means natural laws. So really, ergonomics is all about the science of work and how we do that better, more efficiently, more comfortably, and improve our health. And it doesn't have to be only the workplace or the office environment. It can be any environment that a human finds themselves in, whether that's an industrial environment, manufacturing, healthcare, a cockpit in an aeroplane or a helicopter, submarines, vehicles, and the use of technology as well. So how we navigate through websites, software, how we navigate through our phones as well. Before I move on, I'd love to understand where you are all sat at the moment, working, watching this webinar, what environment you're working in. So I'm going to do a quick poll right now. So let's see if I can get this up. We'll just launch this poll here. For some reason, it's not coming up. That's okay. If you can pop, actually, just let me know. For some reason, the polling isn't working at the moment. I'll see what I can do about that. But if you can let me know in the Q&A section where you're all working, I'd love to know just, are you in the kitchen, the dining room, the bedroom, your home office or study? Are you in the garden or on the edge of a balcony if you've got a little space outside as well? Just let me know so I know where you all are and how I can tailor this information. So let's have a look here. So office at home, okay. Sharon's in her spare bedroom. We've got someone in their kitchen, a dining room as well, which is brilliant. Okay, so everyone's pretty much in all sorts of different environments. Dining room, Sarah's in her dining room. I was in my dining room actually all day yesterday, and I'm in my bedroom today. I've been kicked out of the dining room. Someone else is working in there today, so I've been summoned back to my bedroom. And in fact, I quite like it up here. I've set it up exactly how I want it. I've got my laptop equipment. I've got the window behind me, so lots of natural light. And it's my room. It's my safe haven for me. So it seems, yeah, actually, it seems like everyone's in all sorts of a conservatory. Oh, brilliant. Someone's in the dining room, living room, office, the joys of a studio flat. Yes. I don't think I'd enjoy living in my London flat right now. I was sharing with some housemates quite a few years ago, and that would have been quite intense. 5 people in a small house in London wouldn't have been ideal. So I'm quite enjoying being back home in the countryside at the moment as well. So thank you for that. That's good to know where you all are. So we've had various people in various locations: dining room, kitchen, bedroom, and home office study, and the patio outside. Before I move on, I just want to clarify a few misconceptions when it comes to ergonomics. There are quite a few out there. I won't go into all of them because that would take up probably a whole day, but I will go into some of the most important ones. One of the common misconceptions is, and you might have heard this, in the past, that we need to sit up straight. We need to sit bolt upright and hold ourselves in this position when we're in our workplace or wherever we're seated. In actual fact, this really straight upright position can put a lot of pressure on the lower back. Also, after about 7, 8, 10 minutes of sitting in that way, what tends to happen is we tend to slouch either into our body or we slouch in front of the nearest surface that we can find, usually the desk or the table in front of us. Much the same as the man with the cap on right now reading his map. That kind of posture is called a kyphotic curve, and that's sort of a C-shaped curve. That C-shaped curve puts a lot of pressure on the lower back and also a lot of pressure across the neck and shoulders too. So we don't want to achieve that. We don't want to sit in this bolt upright position because we physically can't hold ourselves there. It will tire us quite quickly. Our muscles will start to fatigue and cause us to slouch. And then we end up slouching in a very awkward posture that does more harm than good. So actually what I want you to do is when you are seated and you have somewhere with a backrest, to try and sit in a slightly reclined position. What that allows us to do is to open up the hip flexors, open up the chest, encourage blood circulation, encourage more oxygen around the body and the vital organs, and makes us feel much more comfortable and much more productive. So I'm not talking horizontal, I'm just talking slightly reclined so that your body feels much more comfortable. We're trying to encourage that S-shaped curve. So the S-shaped curve is in its most natural form when we're standing up or when we're lying flat on our back. So that sort of shaped curve is what we want to try and achieve when we're in that seated posture as much as we possibly can. Another misconception is that standing is better than sitting. Now, standing is absolutely an important part of our working routine. We should stand throughout the day, but I would hesitate to say that standing is better than sitting. Standing for long periods of time can actually cause varicose veins, sore joints in the hips, knees, and ankles. It can fatigue you much quicker. It takes 20% more energy to stand up. So really what you want to do is go between sitting and standing intermittently every single hour of the day, not sitting for 3 or 4 hours in the morning and then standing for 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon, but doing both of those postures every single hour throughout the day. And we'll drill down a little bit more into that later on. But those are some of the misconceptions when it comes to ergonomics and workstation setup. Let me know if you've heard of any more, or you think of something that you think is ergonomics. I'll clarify it for you in this webinar if you want to. So drop a question if you've already been told something and you're not sure if it's right or wrong. Let us know and we'll get you to that. So this is the sort of neutral reach zone that we want to try and achieve when we're working in our work area, wherever you're finding yourselves. And I know that not everybody has a table and chair at the moment in their homes to work at, but we're going to start off with this and then we'll drill down into more mild scenarios in the home. So this is the scenario you want to be set up like if you have all the equipment that you could possibly want. You've got a table, you have a chair, you've got a monitor and a keyboard and mouse. This is the environment that you want to set yourself up in. So the primary zone, that's where you're using the majority of your tools for the majority of the time throughout the day. So I guess that would be your keyboard and mouse. Keeping that in the primary zone so that you're not unnecessarily stretching throughout the day. You then want to, in your secondary zone, keep perhaps your phone, a pen and paper, because you will use that throughout the day, but maybe not every single hour of the day. So that just, encourages some reach, but not too much that you're taking yourself away from the chair and the backrest support. And then in the third zone, the back of the desk is your monitor and anything else that you might touch throughout the day, but maybe only once or twice. So this is the general setup that you want on your table or desk that you've got at home at the moment, and trying to keep yourself close to that workstation as much as possible and as much as comfortable for you. When we talk about a neutral posture, it looks something like this. So if you are sat now in a chair, I want you to do the same with me. So you want your feet flat on the floor. You want a 3 or 4 inch gap between the back of your knee and the front edge of the seat. And if you're finding like when your feet are flat on the floor, you can't quite reach the backrest of your chair, that's when you want to start to add a cushion, a pillow, or a rolled up towel to give you that additional lumbar support. Then you want your hands in your lap, your shoulders down and relaxed, and your elbows by your side, and your head looking straight ahead in front of you. Now that's a pretty neutral posture. Nothing's awkward about that. Nothing's bending or stretching unnecessarily. You're sat in a really good posture. You're supported as much as you can be. You're sat upright, but slightly reclined so that your hip flexors are open. What I want you to do is think about this posture that you're currently in. So feet flat on the floor, hands in your lap, elbows by your side, shoulders down and relaxed, and head facing forward. Think about this posture, and you want to replicate this type of posture in every environment that you find yourselves in at home, whether that's the kitchen, the dining room, the home office, or even in the living room on the sofa. Try and achieve that posture, and at least you'll be one step ahead of good posture more than anybody else. If you're using a laptop, you may at the moment be using a laptop with no accessories. You've just got the laptop. And we can do a few things to make that posture a little bit better for you. But ideally, you want to add a few accessories to that laptop. When you don't have accessories with your laptop, you start to see this posture on the left-hand side that you're looking at right now. It aggravates the lower back. It exacerbates any issues with the neck and shoulders, and also gives you contact stress across the wrist as well. Because the monitor and keyboard are connected, we have to compromise our body posture quite significantly when we're using our laptop. So if at all possible, get yourself a laptop kit, and that would be a laptop stand, a separate keyboard, and a separate mouse. Now, in real terms, if you've got a separate keyboard and mouse and you don't have a laptop stand, that's actually fine, because I'm sure you can find a book or a set of boxes or a set of books at home that you can prop your laptop up. What we're trying to achieve is to lift the laptop up so the top line of text or the top of the screen is at eye level right now. So I've got my laptop on a laptop stand, which is why it's sort of at a perfect position for me. I'm looking straight ahead at you. My neck's not bent forward, it's not bent too up either, it's just in a really good neutral position. So go and find yourself a set of books, a box, prop that laptop up to eye level and connect a separate keyboard and mouse. And that will really give you a much better posture and a much better setup whilst you're working here. Now, you might find yourself on a sofa. If that's all you've got right now, you may not have a desk surface or a table surface to use to pop your laptop on. No problem at all. We can fix that and make that a bit better for you. But this is certainly not the right posture to be in on your sofa. This is forcing your chin forward, putting severe pressure on the neck. So once this person gets up now, they'll feel a lot of pressure across the neck and shoulders. It might even start to cause headaches and eye strain as well, because it's all connected. There'll be a lot of contact stress on the lower back, lack of blood circulation as well. This person might start to feel quite cold because they're not moving, they're not upright, so their blood circulation isn't functioning as efficiently as it could do whilst you're standing or sitting upright. So try not to sit in this position. And also try not to sit in this position either. Leaning on one side of the body can minimize blood circulation equally as the last picture you just saw. It can also encourage pins and needles. So if you've ever had pins and needles before, it's not a nice sensation. It feels kind of like you've got a dead arm or a dead leg. We don't want that posture, because even though it might be only a few minutes that you feel that for, if that's consistent throughout the day and consistent throughout your week and then month, that will start to go from something that was maybe just a few pins and needles to some discomfort and then pain and then potentially a musculoskeletal disorder. When it gets to a musculoskeletal disorder, that's when it gets quite tricky and quite difficult to fix and to treat. So we want to avoid you getting to that stage. So try not to sit in this way. Try to sit in a more upright position, as you can see here. So this person is sat upright but slightly reclined, so their hip flexors are open, their shoulders are back, their chest is open, there's lots of blood circulation, oxygen moving around the body, and the wrists are straight here. The only problem with this setup here is that the head will be bent forward to look at the laptop. And so we have to do some compromise here because this is all we've got. With the laptop though, if you feel like the laptop in this position is too low, start to add maybe a cushion or a couple of cushions to lift that laptop up so that it is getting closer to the eye level, and so that you're not having to bend your head so far forward. Just try not to lift that laptop up too high so that you're having to shrug your shoulders. Shrugging of the shoulders is one of the key issues that I see in offices and workplaces, and I can guarantee it will be one of the biggest issues that you'll find in the home workspace, particularly if you're working on a dining room table, because a dining room table is quite high, much higher than your normal office desk. So try and avoid this shoulder shrugging posture. Keep it down and relaxed and your wrists as straight as you can. But if this is all you've got, a soft seat or a sofa, this is the sort of posture you want to aim for. But in this kind of posture, movement is actually the key. And you want to be moving at least 3 or 4 times an hour to get away from this posture, move, rejuvenate the body, replenish the body with blood circulation, oxygen, hydrate yourself, and then come back to this session as well. So movement is absolutely key. So I would love to know if you can post in the Q&A section now how much moving you are doing throughout the day whilst you're working from home. I want to know, is it 2 to 3 times an hour? Is it once an hour, or is it less than once an hour? So just let me know in the Q&A, and I'm going to have a look at what you have to say here. So 2 to 3 times an hour, once an hour, or less than once an hour? Just let me know in the Q&A section. I want to see how many of you are moving throughout the day. Okay, so Kirsty, 2 to 3 times an hour, perfect. Less than once an hour, a couple of you. Approximately once an hour for a few of you as well. Usually two to three times an hour, depends on how long the calls last. Yep, I know that feeling. 2 to 3 times an hour there as well. Okay, so we've got probably 50% of you 2 or 3 times an hour, which is absolutely fantastic, and a couple of you once an hour or less than once an hour. And that makes sense. You know, we're in a home office now, so it means we are genuinely doing less moving because we have everything at our disposal now. You know, the kitchen isn't far away, the bathroom isn't that far away. It's a mere 3 or 4 steps for most of us. The garden isn't that far away. And so we are genuinely doing less moving throughout the day than you would in the office. And even then, when you were in the office, you would have heard that everyone was talking about lack of movement in the workplace. So my advice would be here to move as regularly as you can. And so why would I have an astronaut on screen right now? Well, a former life scientist, Joan Vernikos, did some research a few years ago of astronauts in space. And as you can imagine, in space is a very extreme environment. And with that environment comes some symptoms. And some of those symptoms are a lower immune system or a suppressed immune system, lower blood circulation, a lower balance, coordination, or a lack of balance and coordination, loss of, reduced oxygen, and just feelings of not feeling very well either. So those make sense because you're in space. It's a very extreme environment. But what was interesting about her research was that she found that people and workers who are static, so us computer users who are static, looking at our laptop or computer throughout the day, who are not moving regularly, can actually have the same symptoms as those in space. So if you are sat statically for too long without regular movement, your immune system will start to suppress, your blood circulation will reduce, your muscle mass will start to waste as well. You'll reduce your muscle mass, you'll feel your balance coordination might be a little bit off, and you might feel some eye strain, headaches, and just feeling not great, not rejuvenated, and not feeling like you've got a lot of energy. And so that surprised me, and I think hopefully, in a way will surprise you into moving more. No matter how well set up your workstation is right now, even if I came over to your house now, which, we're not allowed to do, if I came over and did an assessment for you and gave you the best equipment in the world, set you up perfectly, if you don't move regularly, I can guarantee that you'll eventually start to suffer with some kind of discomfort. So the key here is to move regularly, and from her research, she suggested 32 times per day. So moving 32 times per day against gravity. And so that is getting up from your seated position, moving around and coming back down again. It can literally be a 30 to 60 second movement. It doesn't have to be a 5 to 10 minute movement every time, just 30 to 60 seconds. If you think about an 8-hour shift, let's assume that we're doing around an 8-hour shift. I know many of us are working longer hours than that, but we'll assume an 8-hour shift. 3 to 4 times an hour is a pretty reasonable amount to take a break. Now, if you're finding that that's a little bit too much for you to do, you might feel that you're distracting yourself, you won't get enough work done, you won't get enough focused work done, then I would certainly suggest that you take a break every single hour and take a slightly longer break. So at that 55 minute mark, take a 5 to 7 minute break just to get yourself away from the screen, away from this work setup, allowing you to move, to warm your body up, to get that blood circulating, and just to make yourself feel a bit better. Get away from here, rejuvenate, get yourself hydrated, and then come back to the workplace. So if 2 to 3 times an hour is too much for you, definitely at the 50 minute or 55 minute mark, do a 5 to 7 minute break. And at lunchtime, really take your lunch away from your workstation. Give yourself that time to have a break. And if you can, get outside a little bit, get some sunshine, and then come back to the office. I want to talk a little bit more around our workstation setup now. So if you are finding yourself at a table and chair, as you can see here, and you've got no other accessories, this is a pretty bad posture to be in right now. This lady is not using the backrest of the chair. She's sort of forcing herself away from the desk. Her head's bent forward. In fact, she's having to hold her head up because it's so heavy. She's got contact stress on the elbow here too. So in this situation, if you have no other accessories, what I would suggest is you start with the chair first, then you move to the desk, and then you move to your devices. So start with the chair first, get yourself back into the chair in that slightly reclined position, making sure that you're contacting the back of the chair. If you can't reach the chair, add a cushion, pillow, a rolled up towel, hot water bottle, that sort of thing. Make sure your feet are flat on the floor. If you can't reach the floor, get yourself a box or something that's going to lift your feet up slightly at home. Making sure that you're not lifting your feet up so that your knees are pointing up. You always want your hips slightly higher than your knees. That's just a much better posture to be in. So do that with your chair. Pull your chair into the table as close as you can get and as close as feels comfortable. Bring that laptop closer to the edge of the desk. At least here now, our shoulders are a bit more relaxed. You're not having to unnecessarily stretch to reach the keyboard and mouse. And then push that laptop as far back as you can go, so that hopefully in that slightly reclined position, we're just moving our eyes back and forth versus our head up and down. The further you push your screen back and the further you recline, it'll actually start to meet and balance out our eye level. So in a reclined position in your seated posture, you'll start to lower your eye level naturally and to be able to see your laptop in a much better neck position for yourself. If that's all you've got, then that's a really good start. If you can get hold of an external keyboard and mouse, even better, because you can separate then the monitor from your keyboard and mouse and lift your laptop up with a set of books or a box or a laptop stand if you have the budget and capability to get yourself one. So this is the room that I'm actually in right now. I'm in my bedroom, and this picture here. So a few weeks ago, I think this was about 3 weeks ago now, I was working with my keyboard and mouse on the top of the dressing table here. And I noticed that I was getting quite a lot of neck and shoulder discomfort. And so I kind of did myself an ergonomic assessment on myself. And I realized that my shoulders were very much shrugged when I was on my dressing table. My elbows, as you can see here, are falling underneath the wrist. So they're much further below the wrist here. And what that does, puts a lot of contact stress on the wrist and causes a lot of neck and shoulder tension. What I did was I unscrewed the front edge of my drawer here on my dressing table. It was 4 screws. I just unscrewed it, took the front of it off. I've got it just on the side here. And I placed my keyboard and mouse inside the drawer, and instantly you can see my shoulders dropped down and relaxed, my elbows are by my side, and my wrists are at the same height as my elbows here, and they are in a much more neutral position. So definitely, if you've got this type of setup at home, just unscrew the front of it. You're not going to mutilate your furniture. You can screw it back on afterwards. Unscrew it if you can. Place your keyboard and mouse in there, and it just naturally and very quickly lowers that shoulder position for you. So let's see what people think about that. Yeah, I hear you, Kirsty. So let me know, what do you think about this hack? I thought this was an ingenious hack for myself. I thought of myself as a bit of an engineer here. I'm definitely not an engineer. Ergonomics is definitely more my forte, but I was really impressed with myself with this ergonomic hack. So the reality is we're in a really weird time at the moment. This is hopefully a temporary time whilst you're working from home. You don't have to go and buy loads of expensive equipment. You can utilize what you have in the home office, in your home at the moment, just to give yourself a better position and a more neutral posture here. Yes, thank you everyone telling me that it's very clever. Yeah, brilliant. Well, I urge you to go and try this. If you've got a desk with a drawer underneath, try it out. See if you can unscrew the front of it and place your keyboard and mouse inside, because it really will change your posture and for the better and more positively as well. I can probably say that the majority of issues that I see in workplaces are 2 things: lower back issues and shoulder and neck issues because of shoulder shrugging, because the desk is too high. So if you can lower yourself down so your hands are more in your lap, that's what we're trying to achieve, making sure that your keyboard and mouse is sort of in that hands in lap position. Okay, so do that. People, yep. Someone said they've just put their cushion behind their back. Mind blown, feeling silly for not thinking about it before. You know what? It is the simplest of things that can really help you to do this. So think about it now. And this is the whole point of this webinar, was to give you some really small basic tweaks to really hack your home working setup. So I hope this one really helps. I thought this was ingenious myself, so I gave myself a pat on my back for this one. Go and try it yourself. Another thing we might be thinking of, or we might be doing a lot more of, is using our phones much more and in awkward positions. Our heads on top of our neck in a neutral position is around 12 pounds in weight, or 4 or 5 kilos in weight. As we start to bend our head forward to look at our phone, that increases in pressure across the neck and shoulders up to around 60 pounds of pressure, 60 pounds of weight. What that means is when you're looking down at your phone in an awkward posture, so your head all the way down looking at your phone, the pressure across your neck and shoulders here is like your neck and shoulders is holding a bowling ball up. So if you've been bowling recently, you know how heavy those bowling balls are. That's what your upper back is feeling when you're looking down at your phone for long periods of time. So if you have been suffering with headaches, eye strain, or any neck and shoulder issues, there is a chance it could be due to you looking down at your phone too much throughout the day, and even too much of your laptop, looking down at your laptop too much as well, without having your laptop propped up on a laptop stand or a book or box. So it doesn't have to be just your phone. If you're looking at any devices with a head tilted forward, this will really aggravate your neck and shoulders. There's two things that happen when we typically use our phone. You bend your head forward to view the screen, and we tend to hold our phone in this claw-like position, holding the weight of the phone with our pinky finger. So if you do it with me now, and I can't see you, it's just yourself looking at you, pick up your phone if you've got it, hold it here, and prop your pinky finger underneath with that weight, if that's what you normally do. So hold it like this, hold it in that claw position, take your phone out, keep your claw position. So you can see here, my hand is in a really claw position. This is a really awkward, unnecessary position for my hand to be in. And that's with no weight. As soon as I add my phone, that's an additional few pounds of weight. That's really going to aggravate my wrist, my hand, and then further my neck and shoulders. So as much as you can, try and grasp the phone with your whole hand. That's a much better position for your hand to be in. It's not this claw-like. You're not having to hold it with your pinky finger. Grasp it with a bit of a better grip. Hold it slightly more to eye level. It doesn't have to be right up to your face here. It can just be slightly further up than your lap. So I would say keep your phone in between your head and your waist. That's sort of the height you want to keep your phone at, just so that you can move your eyes up and down and not move your head up and down. And then obviously drop the phone down every few minutes or so, just to give your shoulders and arms a rest of holding that phone up in that position. And same applies for using your iPads or tablets, making sure that you're supported when you're holding them up, put them down for a few minutes for a break, and then lift them up again when you need to work on them. So we've spoken a lot about neutral postures, getting your bodies into a good posture whilst you're working, making sure your equipment is set up correctly, making sure you're moving regularly throughout the day. What I now want to talk to you about in this last part of the webinar, so we've just got 2 or 3 slides now to run through before we go into the Q&A section. I want to talk to you about the environmental factors in your home. So things like lighting, noise distraction, temperature, air quality. So if you can, again, let me know in the Q&A section, how does your workspace feel at the moment? Does it feel comfortable? Do you feel like the lighting is good for you? Do you feel the temperature is good? Do you feel like the area that you're working in just feels really productive? It's creative. It's getting those creative juices flowing. It feels aesthetically pleasing for you. Let me know in the comments and I'll have a little read through them. So for me, I've got a plant behind me. I've got really good lighting around. I've got artwork all around my bedroom here. Artwork that I've picked out myself from all of my travels. I've also got some photographs of my family and friends. That's really helped. Someone said their space feels fine, but untidy at the moment. Yep, I don't you worry. I think everyone's in that boat right now. Yep, everyone's feeling pretty comfortable right now. The desk isn't ideal for some of you, but otherwise feeling pretty good. get cold a lot sitting, even in this hot weather? Yeah, so my bedroom actually, whoever said, yeah, Rachel, my bedroom gets freezing cold. I don't know why, but it's this side of the house that always gets freezing cold, even in the height of summer. So I have to do a lot more moving in this room to keep my body temperature up. And even with the heating one, yeah, I hear you there. Sharon's looking at a framed certificate of her mortgage settlement. Maybe we need to put a bit of a brighter, colourful piece of artwork there for you. And Lee is feeling too hot in his work environment at the moment. Yeah, we need to have a look at these workspaces, and let's talk about that, the environmental factors. The environmental factors around your home are as important as your work setup and your device setup. It's equally as important. Let's say you've got a really good desk and chair, your monitor set up perfectly, you've got a good keyboard and mouse. If you're in a really bland environment, there's no color, there's no plants, there's no artwork, there's no ambience, there's no music. That's a really dull environment to be in, and it's not going to get your creative juices flowing. You're not going to feel productive. And it has statistically been shown that if you have artwork, plants, good lighting, good temperature, good ambience around you, that you will be more productive during the working day. So it is as important as getting your ergonomic setup on your workstation. So first thing to talk about is lighting. You don't want your lighting to be too bright. If it's too bright, you'll start to cause headaches, eye strain, and glare across the screen. Your screen doesn't need light across it. The screen emits light itself. So what you need additional light for is just the general ambience or your work surface. So lighting across the keyboard, the mouse, and any paper or notebook or documents around that area. So have a look at the lighting around you now. Does it feel comfortable? Does it feel like you're leaning into your screen to view things, leaning into your notebook? If you feel like it's too dull and you're having to move your posture to see things, it might be that your environment is too dark. So grab yourself a lamp somewhere in the house. I'm sure you've got a lamp somewhere in the house. Grab it, put it by the side of your workstation and brighten up that area. Having a task lamp or any kind of lamp also starts to blur out the rest of the environment and create sort of a cocoon space for your work setup. So right now, this is your space. This is where you're working. When you turn that light off, it's now not the working space and you can move away from it. There is actually a really good app on your phones. It's free. It's called, there's two different ones actually. There's one called the Lux app, Lux, and then there's one called Light-O-Meter. Light, the letter O, and meter. If you download those, they can actually show you the levels of lighting in your environment right now for free. The regulations say that your environment when you're working should be 500 lux. That's actually far too bright. That's more like a showroom light level. What you want to aim for, I would say, on your work surface, so your table or desk or where your keyboard and mouse is, try and aim for around 200 to 250 lux levels. That's the light levels that come from the lamp that you're using. If you feel like that's not bright enough, then start to increase that light. As we get older, the lens starts to harden in our eyes, and so we need more light coming into the eyes. So as you get older, you might feel like you need a bit more additional light to help yourselves. Another thing to think about is biophilia. So the idea of nature, this love of nature. Research has been shown that it's statistically significant that if we have a plant, even a picture of a plant, a landscape, or the outdoors, that it makes us more efficient when we're working, more productive. So grab yourself some flowers around the area, some plants, and it even doesn't have to be a big plant. It can be a sprig of rosemary just in a small glass next to you, just keeping you connected to nature. If you've got the dog or the cat with you, that again is nature. It's our connection to animals. Keep the dog or cat next to you because that will calm you and keep your anxiety lower. Or put some artwork up, something that's colorful, bright, encourages joy and is, you know, makes you feel happy, something that you really enjoyed about that piece of art, whether it's from travel that you've just done recently, a family member, friends, anything you want. Put that artwork up, or you can download templates online for free now and you can color them in yourself, paint them yourselves, and you've co-created some artwork there. Make your space look and feel really good. You have the autonomy now. You're at home. No one's judging you. It's your house. You do what you want with it. So make sure it feels really good, really comfortable, and it looks exactly the way that you want it to. It'll offer so much more benefit. And the last couple of things I want to talk about is temperature and air quality. So temperature, we've all been in those temperature wars in the office, too hot, too cold, everyone's moaning. I'm sure the same is happening right now in your home workplaces. It's definitely happening in my home. So some of us are too cold, some of us are too warm. If you are too cold, it could be that you're not moving enough. So I would say that's your first point of call. If you're feeling too cold while you're working, it's probably because you're too static and you're not moving enough. So get up, move around the house and come back and get that blood circulating and warm up the body. If not, you know, either turn the heating on, dress a bit warmer, proper blanket around you, but really I would prefer you if you just moved more regularly, because that's more natural for you. If it's too warm in the house, you'll start to feel more tired more quickly as well. You'll start to feel more frustrated. So start to open the windows if you've got them nearby, let that fresh air in, wear lighter clothing just to make you feel much cooler as well. Being too hot could also be to having too much light. If there's too much light in your area, that could make you feel too warm as well. So just have a think about the temperature. You want to aim for about 21 or 22 degrees in your home environment. Okay. And the last thing is air quality. Something that we probably don't think about enough. And as we are spending at least 90% of our times indoors and will do for the rest of our lifetime, this would have been, actually we would have spent 90% of our time indoors even before coronavirus, and now it is probably even more than that, I guess, if many of us haven't got gardens or balconies. So we're spending the majority of our time inside. So we want to make sure the air quality is really good inside. It's our haven, it's our safe haven. And actually in our homes, there can be quite a lot of toxins that occur from cooking. So smoke from cooking, lighting candles, the chemicals that you use to clean with, those kind of things. And any furniture that you buy, depending on the furniture or the paint that you buy, could offer toxins in the house as well. So there's all sorts of things you can do to make your house feel better in terms of indoor air quality. First one is really simple. Keep those windows open. Open all of the windows in your house at least once a day, just to let that fresh air in. It's helpful for you anyway, lots of fresh air, but it will also start to remove some of the toxins in your house and just make your air fresher. Add plants around the house. Plants in this extent probably won't purify the air like we think. The way to purify air with plants would be to have a rainforest in your house, and it's unlikely that we're going to have enough plants to create a rainforest. So absolutely put plants in the house, but that's more for your own feelings of wellness versus air purification. If you do want to add additional air purification, you can get air purifiers. And so I have one on my desk here. It was from Kensington. So it's the Kensington Fresh View air purifier. You just turn it on, and it has some HEPA filters, HEPA, which are high performing filters, and they remove things like dust mites and those kind of toxins. They won't remove viruses. If you want to remove things like viruses, you'll have to go for a much higher quality air purifier, and potentially something with a blue UV light. And that's been shown to remove things like viruses. So have a little Google around. If you want to add more air purification in your home or think about the air quality, I would definitely look into it, because it's so important that we're feeling good in our own homes. So that brings me to the end of this webinar. I have talked about neutral postures. We've talked about movement, making sure you're moving more regularly, and the environmental factors around your home as well. So those three things, if you can think about those three things today in your home, and I don't expect you to completely change everything all in one go today, but if you can change one thing today, that would be great. And that would make me so happy. So if you change the amount you move today, perfect. If you perhaps change the setup of your laptop, or make sure that you sit back into the chair so that your back is supported, brilliant. If you turn on the lighting, or make sure the lighting is good, or you're opening up the windows in your area, or putting up a piece of artwork, amazing. Just do one thing today for yourself so that you can work more productively, more creatively, and make yourself feel much healthier throughout the time. Just do one thing, and then each day increase that so that you end up by the end of the week or the end of the month with a much better, more ergonomic environment. So now I'm going to open it up to some questions here. So if you've got any questions, please just pop those in over here. If you're working, okay, there's a question here. If your working room doesn't receive lots of natural light, is there anything you can recommend to emulate this? I think really the only thing here would be to get yourself a task lamp. When you're looking at task lamps, you want to look at something called the color rendering index. And a color rendering index means, so 100 on that color rendering index would be sunlight, so that's natural light. You want to aim for a CRI, or a color rendering index, of over 80 on that scale. So when you are looking for task lamps, look for the bulb and what color it is, yellow or white. You want to aim for something that's over the number 80, which will keep you as close to natural light as possible. So just get yourself a task lamp. You don't have to get yourself an expensive one. Anything from, I would say, £20, and if you want to increase that budget up to about £150 is reasonable. You don't need to be spending more than that at all. But I would say at this point, if you've not got a lot of natural light coming in, a lamp or a task lamp would be ideal there. Let me know if you've got any questions at all. I'm here to answer them all. Yeah, so the Lux app is a really useful app for the lighting that will just allow you to understand the light levels in your home so that you can either increase or decrease the light depending on what that light level tells you. Another great app is the Stand Up app, and the Stand Up app is free. Again, you can download it and you can set it so that it notifies you as many times as you want it to throughout the day. So I have mine set up for every 20 minutes. So my phone kind of does a beep and it notifies me every 20 minutes, and it just comes up with a notification that says stand up. And that just encouraged me to move and get up, because sometimes, you know, you get so engrossed in your work, so focused in your work, that you do forget to take breaks. But having these things like the Stand Up app will really help. If you don't want to download an app, pop an event in your Outlook calendar as if it was a meeting and just call it take a break, or move more, or this is your time to stand up. Whatever you want to call it, make that event in your Outlook calendar for every 20, 30 minutes or every hour, and that will as well pop up on your screen to encourage you to move more regularly. So they're really good. Yeah, I think one of the things that people are missing in their home workplaces are a really good, decent chair and a really good height adjustable desk as well. I think we got a bit complacent with our workplaces, particularly if you were in a really well-designed workplace, and having a good chair, I think, is one of the key things to a really good ergonomic setup. If you are looking to buy yourself a good ergonomic chair or just an adjustable chair, you want to look for 5 things. You want to look for height adjustment, seat depth adjustment, lumbar or backrest height, armrest adjustment, and a recline adjustment. So an ability to sit dynamically in your chair. So for now, you can see me here. I can actually rock back and forth in my chair very easily because I've unlocked the chair to give me that dynamic movement. So make sure you look at those 5 features on a chair: height, seat depth, armrest height, backrest height, and recline tension. Any chair that has those 5 adjustments will really encourage a better posture for your back and your body in general. And then looking for a height adjustable desk. If you don't want to go and spend the money on a height adjustable desk, which I absolutely understand, you know what's height adjustable in your home right now? An ironing board. Get that ironing board out. No need to do any ironing. Shove the ironing away. Prop your laptop on the ironing board, and there you have a stand-up desk. Stand there for 5 to 10 minutes, work on your laptop, take your webinar calls, take your teleconferencing calls. Do that for 5-10 minutes. Sit back down again at your normal area, and then go back to the ironing board in another hour or so. So use the ironing board as a stand-up desk. You don't have to go and buy something. If you want to go and buy a stand-up desk, make sure that you are getting the right height for you in terms of your stature and your height. So just make a note of that. You want to aim for the desk height in a seated position and a standing position to be the same height as elbow height. So when your hands are in your lap, that's your natural elbow position. Make sure the top of the table or the top of the desk is the same as that elbow height. And there you'll reduce the shoulder shrugging and you'll be in a much better position. What else have we got here? Yeah, Fitwel Ambassador is really great. Is this just an ergonomics rebadged? So I think the Fitwel certification is more around public health and taking in public health research from, I think it's the Center for Active Design. It takes that research and puts it into a set of strategies to help us. Anything from, let's say the workplace, we have lifts at the center, so that, you know, if you've got lifts at the center and they are the first thing that you see, naturally people will go to the lifts and use them to go up and down the building. Whereas if you have stairs in the center, it's more than likely you'll use the stairs more. So that's what the Fitwel strategies try and help you achieve, is more movement, better health from ambience, so air quality, lighting, toxins, movement, and ergonomics as well. Yeah, so someone's just said we've been giving one of our team stick for using an ironing board. No, you can't give them stick. Listen, it's not the perfect situation, but it is a flat surface, so it is a good spot to put your laptop, and it is height adjustable, so you can stand up. For me, I'm 5'8", so I would say it's about at the cusp of the right height for me in a standing up position. If you're any taller than me, an ironing board might not be the best stand-up position. But if you've got a bar in your kitchen or a surface that's higher than your normal seated desk position, use that as a standing area. Just use it for 5 to 10 minutes just to get that blood flowing and the oxygen and you moving and fidgeting a little bit. Fidgeting is really good for you. So keep moving as regularly as you can. But yes, definitely use the ironing board. That's another good hack. It's, you know, most of us have got an ironing board at home. It's height adjustable and you can place your laptop very easily on there. So I think that's all the questions asked. I'll leave it up for 1 more minute. So someone's emailed me a picture with birthday balloons and with emojis of faces. Yes, see, exactly. In terms of artwork, just make sure you have got some artwork up around you, some plants around you. It's your space. If you've got kids, get the kids to make you something, put that up around you, make yourself feel much more joyful and happy. Put some music on in the background if that makes you feel better and you can concentrate with music on in the background. It's your home. Create some ambience. It doesn't have to be this dull environment. You know, we can make it feel really good right now. So I think that's all of the questions. By all means, if you have any questions after this webinar, then please let Lee and Sarah know, and they will either contact me or they'll be able to answer the questions themselves. And please do, you know, keep in touch. I'm the Travelling Ergonomist, so you can find me all over social media. My website's www.thetravellingergonomist.com. I'm Kirsty Angerer on LinkedIn, and wherever you find yourselves on social media, you can find me there. So please do connect with me and ask your questions. I'd love to support you with anything that you're up to right now. And thank you so much for spending some time with me this morning. It's been really great.